What's up, you guys? Welcome to the Mixed Doubles Podcast. Today's episode is on the Caitlin Clark effect and the economics of college women's hoops. But first, what's up? How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking.
Yeah.
I realized last time we did our first recording, it was Women's History Month.
Yeah, we didn't mention that
still,
at all.
Yeah, we didn't mention it at all. It's still Women's History Month as we record, but when this will come out, it won't be.
We snuck it in.
I want to say to you and to everybody else,
Thank you so much.
Happy Women's History Month.
you.
In very much in like LeBron fashion, if you know what I'm referring to.
Unfortunately, I don't, which is kind of embarrassing.
No. It was the video of LeBron that like made its way around the interwebs.
Yeah.
Of him sitting between Jeannie Buss and I guess one of her friends, and you can read his lips.
Wait, I saw that.
You know what I'm talking
Yeah, I
about?
know
You can
what
read
you're
his
talking
lips, and he's literally like, first thing, happy National Women in Sports Day, because that was the day that was recorded.
Yeah.
And then it's just Jeannie Buss and the other girl being
The
like,
women
oh
are
my
like
God,
all
like,
over him. Like, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And
So on behalf of women everywhere, thank you so much, Joshua,
for being LeBron James.
for acknowledging our existence.
It's
Thank you.
It's the least. But now seriously, happy National Women.
Thank you. Anyway, how was your weekend?
No,
What'd
it was
you get
great.
up to?
It was great. We had a nice bring your own meats.
BYO meat?
BYOM.
BYO meat.
Bring your own meat grill sesh.
What was your meat of choice?
I didn't bring any.
You came meatless?
I came meatless. And I showed up to the meat party
Empty-handed.
meatless, but there were great burgers, so I did eat.
Okay.
But with that, let's get into the show a little bit.
All right. Should we
Big
kick it
plays.
off? And big players. You know what we love here at Mixed Doubles, you guys? An underdog. Love a little chip on the shoulder, you know? So my big player is Danielle Collins. She's a U.S. tennis player who just won the Miami Open. She came in unseeded and upset Elena Rybakina, who is the world number 4, and won her first WTA 1000 title. And, as if that's not crazy enough,
Yeah, talk to me.
this is her final year before retiring.
Dang.
She has endometriosis, which like affects her uterus, and she's trying to get pregnant. And so she announced she's retiring and then comes out and wins this in her home state in front of all of her friends and family.
Man, shout out.
If that's not feel good,
No, shout out to her, seriously.
right?
That's a great story.
I know.
In the Miami Open, I mean, beautiful.
Yeah.
like, great time. Also, incredible pronunciation.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I did
I
look
don't-
that up.
As you should.
I did.
As you should. And we don't want to mispronounce anybody's name.
No,
on
it's
this
out of
podcast.
respect. We could
Absolutely.
never.
Absolutely not.
So who's yours?
You know, on the same realm of mispronunciations, give me Paige Buckets. Paige Beckers.
There we
which
go.
I had to figure out how to say properly. She's been balling. And I've been having this argument with my roommate because she's been balling. And obviously, like, Caitlin Clark's everywhere, and we'll get into that later. But I think she's put herself back on the map. However, my perspective is that she's never left, right? Like, she had her injuries, but I think a lot of people forgot that, one, she was the number 1 player coming out of high school. Like, that was the girl. Like, she was the it girl. And comes in as a freshman, is leading that UConn team, and pretty much sweeps every trophy that she was put up for.
Whoa.
But to come in and do that as a freshman, she was doing her thing.
That's her.
And then now you look at her, she's back. She averaged, I think, 21, 5, and 3 this season. And in the tournament over the last 3 games, she's averaging 28, 9, and 5. So, like, she's completely elevated her game, and she's balling. To credit my man, Geno Smith. They wrote her off, but she ain't
Right back though.
Come on now.
All right, let's get to some updates around the industry. You want to kick it off with some game results from the NCAA women's basketball tournament?
Yeah, we can stay there. South Carolina punched their ticket to the Final Four, beat Oregon State, who's having a fantastic run in this tournament. And then NC State just upset my UT Longhorns, so I'm very sad about that.
You hate to see it.
76-66. They're going to their Final Four, first time in 26 years.
Older than me.
Yeah.
That's a long
That's older
time.
than both of us.
Yeah.
And then UConn versus USC, we'll know those results. My prediction is USC.
Yeah.
I know I just talked about Paige. USC. However, I'm rocking with Juju. I'm rocking with my dog KD, Caitlin Davis.
Kayla Padilla, we see you.
Exactly.
Congrats.
So got the Columbia and Penn grad. It'll be a great game. And then obviously the highly anticipated matchup between LSU and Iowa.
It doesn't get
And
bigger than
Caitlin
that.
Clark. But I think this is going to be a massive must-watch program. If I could guess what like the viewership is for this game, I'll let you go first,
Okay.
and then I'll give you my prediction.
Okay. Viewership numbers. So last year, the same matchup did 9.9 million viewers. I think it's going to do 12.7. And I say that because I think that's a solid jump. But also I think it's extremely specific, but I think they're going to be up there.
12.7.
Yeah.
I think.
Hold me to it. As of,
I'll hold you to it.
You guys will hear this and you'll know.
Exactly. We'll know what the viewership is. I think that's a bit bullish. I love the enthusiasm.
Like, that's unrealistic.
No,
Continue.
I don't think it's unrealistic. I think you think about the last Iowa game they played against West Virginia. That game was 4.6 million viewers, and as of now is the most watched women's tournament game outside of the Final Four.
Mm-hmm.
So I think based off of that Elite Eight game with a rematch of last year's championship, I'm going to say 7.5. I say that shatters the previous record.
Yeah.
And is still a great number for what will be a fantastic game. A little bit more news. Deloitte did a study, which was really cool, and predicted that women's sports will generate more than $1 billion in 2024. But it makes sense. And I think they're expecting teams to exceed values of 100 million, and obviously shows where Deloitte expects investments to go in the future. This is really exciting for women's sports in general.
Yeah. On the sponsorship side, the LPGA, which is the women's arm of the PGA Tour, has the most sponsorship deals of any women's sports property with 1,100. That's a big number. Let that sink in.
Let that sink in.
I think a lot of this is in part because golf is such an individual sport, so it's easier to market individual players. On the same kind of wave, the WTA, the women's arm of the Tennis Association, had the biggest increase in sponsorship this past year, which is really great to see. Coco Gauff doing amazing things. Obviously, Serena Williams is carrying the torch forward. And namely, Gatorade is the most active brand with 51 sponsorships in pro women's leagues.
Dang.
I know. So you see a lot of those ads. You know what I'm talking about. You've seen Caitlin Clark. You've seen your girl Paige Beckers on your TV.
Paige Buckets, come on.
Okay. So they have a lot of college women's basketball ambassadors. They have a whole lot in soccer. And really great to see Gatorade being such a big, well-known brand, really embracing women's pro sports.
No, absolutely. I'll say the one that I've seen has been State Farm.
Yeah,
they're leaning in.
This is true.
I mean, they have Sabrina and Caitlin
Clark
now.
Yeah.
They've also had some really fun commercials recently.
Whoever's running their marketing department,
shout out to that,
deserves a raise. It's
I'm
insurance.
Sure
that shit is boring, and they're making this funny.
Well, all the insurance companies that go on a
Geico?
tangent have great commercials.
I think they have to.
They have to.
Who's gonna buy?
It's like
the
it's insurance. It's insurance.
Yeah.
But it's fun.
But it's fun and young and youthful and
Exactly.
in sports. Yeah.
Love those. But to get back on topic.
But to get back onto it, I got some news for you straight out of the NWSL, which, if you are not familiar, is the National Women's Soccer League. They just named Sarah Jones-Simmer the Chief Operating Officer. She's set to start in April and will be leading the league's business strategy and corporate operations. So a little bit more about her. Who is she? What does she do? She's a veteran tech exec, formerly was at Found as its CEO, and that's a medically assisted weight loss company. So not exactly in the same realm, but she also led Bumble, the dating app, through its IPO as COO there. So she has a lot of background and experience in leading large companies through large transitions, which I think is right where the NWSL is. I mean, they're blowing up. They've signed incredibly large media deals. So really exciting to see all the change she'll do. And she's also coming in at a great time because, according to Fast Company, which is a business and tech magazine, the NWSL was ranked in the world's most innovative companies of 2024. Where do you think they stood? The world's most innovative companies.
Oh, I actually know the answer.
Okay.
Well, can I say it then?
You can say it.
Can I say it?
Yeah, you can say
5?
it. They're 5th, you guys. 5th in the world's most innovative companies of 2024. And a lot of this, they credit to the new $240 million 4-year media rights deal.
It's insane.
Yeah. I mean, viewership is increasing. They have a really young female demographic they can tap into. And there's just so much potential. And obviously, they're being innovative in their approach. hence why they're on the list,
Absolutely.
which we love to see.
And one thing that I had heard, I mean, they came out with their new line of kits with Nike.
Oh, they're sick.
They're sick.
They look
But then the
good.
other thing they did too, they changed the shorts of their kits from white to black.
This is huge, you guys. So there's now no uniforms that include white shorts, which, as a female athlete and a female soccer player my entire life, the stress you felt when you had to go and put on your white uniform when you were on your period was unlike any other. Because, like, who knows when your period's going to hit? Who knows if you have a tampon, but, like, is it going to do enough? Like, you're playing a game. You don't want to be thinking about that. That's a mental stress that just you don't want to have to concentrate on. And to, like, take that option away entirely, I mean, they were really listening to their players. They asked for feedback. They got it. And then they actually did something about it, which I think is rare in big companies. A lot of times you'll get player feedback and you're like, thank you so much. We're going to ignore everything you just said. I'm like, awesome. No, they actually heard it and were like, all right, we can do this.
Yeah.
Keep it on with the NWSL. Sophia Smith is getting her money.
Get her bag.
Yup. She just signed the highest annual contract of any NWSL player. So rather than go overseas and play in Europe with a bunch of these big clubs, she agreed to a 2-year deal to stay with the Portland Thorns. So respect Sophia Smith for getting after it. Last up in the soccer world, the U.S. women's national team She Believes Cup tournament roster was announced last week. Notably on the list were Mallory Swanson and Katarina Ocario, who are both back from injury, who've previously been on the team, really big names, and 2 brand new faces who we haven't seen on the senior team in Lily Johannes, who is 16. I don't know about you. What were you doing at 16?
Working at a restaurant.
Learning how to drive? Like,
Oh, that too.
I don't know.
Like,
She's 16, playing professionally for Ajax in the Netherlands. And we also added Ava Gattino, who's 21 and playing for Paris Saint-Germain. So really excited to see them both on the scene. And this will be a really good test for the team ahead of the Summer Olympics, which we qualified for. The one bummer is Midge Purse, our girl from Harvard. She tore her ACL, so she'll be out from the She Believes Cup and the Summer Olympics. And she was the NWSL MVP in 2023. Like, she's an impact player. So we're definitely going to feel that.
yeah.
We hope she recovers soon. All the best.
All the best to her. Jumping to the Team USA roster that was announced, who their camp invites were, and someone we'll be talking about a little bit soon. Caitlin Clark was the only college player to be added to that list, but that was a pretty exhaustive list that included some big names, obviously Asia Wilson, Kelsey Plum, and then Diana Farisi.
Brittany Griner, I saw, made it on there.
Like,
This
come
is a
on.
stacked roster, y'all.
So it's going to be tough to come out of that camp with a secure spot, but we'll see if Caitlin Clark can do it.
Yeah.
But it'll be really exciting to see them play in the Olympics this summer. So looking forward to that.
Okay, you guys, let's get into it. The Caitlin Clark effect and the economics of women's college hoops. So,
The Clarkonomics.
the Clarkonomics. Who is Caitlin Clark? You might be hearing this name and you're like, Maggie, with all due respect, I don't know who the hell you're talking about. So let's get into some background for those of you in that boat. She is a basketball player at the University of Iowa in the Big Ten Conference, and to put it succinctly, she's insanely good. She leads men and women in all Division I programs in the NCAA in scoring. So she's a baller. She has swept every major National Player of the Year award, AP, Honda, Women's Basketball Coaches Association, Naismith Trophy, has been an All-American every year of college. Also, she has been making moves with her NIL deals, which is name, image, and likeness. She has $3.1 million valuation in NIL deals, according to On3. And she has these with big name brands. We got Nike, we got Gatorade, we got State Farm, like we mentioned. These are big brands who are taking an interest in her as an individual and then using her marketability to, like, blow up their own product, which is just so crazy that even a few years ago, we couldn't see anything like this. Like, NIL was not around.
No, she's on a tear. I read somewhere one of the research companies, EDO, said that women's college basketball games, when Caitlin Clark's playing, are 7% more effective for advertisers than games without. So, like, you turn on the TV, you see Caitlin Clark playing, that game is making so much money for her advertisers and any advertisers that are airing during that programming. So that's super cool. I mean, she's just had so much success.
Yeah, and hopefully continued success. She's the projected #1 pick in the WNBA draft. And if all plays out the way it sounds like it will, she'd go to the Indiana Fever. And the Indiana Fever has already seen increased ticket sales. This isn't even, like, locked in. We don't know if she's going to Indiana.
I think we know.
I think we know, but like nothing's been signed.
No.
It's just like, to put it into NFL terms, this is like Caleb Williams going to the Chicago Bears. It's not set in stone, but like
It's a done deal.
It's essentially a done deal.
No, they just traded away their quarterback. Like, yeah, it's a done deal.
Yeah.
In the Indiana Fever's situation, however, they don't need to trade away anybody.
No.
And they added Aaliyah Boston from South Carolina last season.
Come on
So
now.
that might be a really good team to watch.
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll be competing with My Liberty, but
We'll see.
very exciting
We'll
times
tune
for
in.
them.
And then the most recent Caitlin Clark news is that Ice Cube, the rapper, offered Caitlin Clark $5 million. Millones. To play in his Big 3 league, which is a 3-on-3 league that plays from June to August. $5 million. The average WNBA rookie salary is $76K. So this is a lot of money that we're talking about. However, she's making so much in NIL sponsorships and deals that will likely carry over into her professional career.
100%.
Like, does she really need this $5 million?
I don't know if she needs it. Let me back up.
Okay.
Personally, I would do it.
Well,
Personally,
yeah.
I would do it. However, yeah, there's something to be said about whether or not she wants to take the off season to continue, developing, and she wants to stay on a specific regimen. But at the same time, like, you see a lot of WNBA players leave to play overseas during the off season to supplement their income. And so it's an opportunity where I think it depends on how Caitlin wants to attack her off season.
Yeah.
And if that includes playing in a Big 3 league, against, like guys like Joe Johnson and other veteran NBA guys, like, I think she does nothing but benefit from doing that.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be such a cool opportunity. And I think Ice Cube said it really well, where he was just like, they've pioneered opportunities for women to be in that realm at that highest level of professional basketball. I don't know if I would say the Big 3 is the highest level of professional basketball, but like, they've had opportunities for women to go in there and do well in coaching, and now bringing Caitlin Clark and having her play with those guys who have been really good. I think it'd be really fun. I think they would bring in a ton of viewers, a ton of different people that would just be interested in seeing her compete against men.
This is so true.
So that's my take.
So let's take it back a little bit. That's Caitlin. Now we know a little bit more about her, but let's look back at where college women's basketball was historically.
Yeah.
And by historically, we mean in the past 50 years, because the first NCAA women's tournament wasn't until 1982, which was 42 years ago.
No, it's insane. It's insane to think about how little time has been since, like, professional women's hoops and college women's hoops have been a sanctioned event. Right.
Yeah.
And so, like you said, 42 years ago for college, WNBA wasn't founded until 96, didn't play until 97. It has been a short amount of time.
Yeah.
And I think over the past couple of years, you've seen an explosion in growth. To look more recently, look back at college women's hoops over the last, I would say, like 3 years, looking back to 2021, that was the first time I feel like the general public got an inside look at the difference in the level of care and opportunities that women have on the college basketball side versus the men. And that was Sedona Prince, her TikTok video.
Yeah, University of Oregon player posted kind of an expose bit of the facilities and gyms. And this was during COVID, so in the bubbles of each the men's and women's championship facilities, and the men had squat racks, power platforms, dumbbells, plates, like a whole setup. And guess what the women had? Like 6 yoga mats and a little pyramid tower of hand weights that went up to 25 pounds.
It was ridiculous.
Are you kidding me?
It's like, how are you supposed to prepare for
That's
a game like that?
insulting.
No, it was actually crazy. And well, I think that the thing about that was that there was outrage about it.
There's a lot.
Right?
Steph Curry even retweeted and was like, y'all do better.
Like, come on now.
Yeah.
But there was outrage about it. Whereas I think if that video had come out, I don't know, 10 years ago, I think people would have been like, yeah, that makes sense.
That checks. Okay.
Yeah. All right, cool.
Next on my
Exactly.
night.
But there was a
So
lot of
true.
outrage there. And I think that led into 2022, led the NCAA allowing the women's basketball championship at the time was just the NCAA women's basketball tournament.
Yeah.
Being allowed to use the March Madness branding. And so that
It wasn't
like,
March Madness.
no, it was just the women's
That's
tournament.
also so insulting.
Yeah.
Like, oh, all this hype is built around it. Oh, but not for you.
For you.
That's funny.
It's like Women's March Madness did not exist.
Not a
until
thing. You can't
22.
claim that. You can't brand that.
No. But
2022.
2022, 2 years ago. Wow. Ridiculous. But again, another just leap and bound to 2023 in the Women's March Madness tournament, culminating in that matchup between LSU and Iowa, which I think is just like SC at that time. South Carolina was having such a good year and got upset by Iowa, but you could not have asked for a better matchup for what everybody was talking about. I mean, like Angel Reese and Flage and that team, Kim Mulkey, they're such personalities versus who everybody had started watching that season, and Caitlin Clark matching up head to head in the tournament championship. And that game averaged 9.9, nearly 10 million viewers. And you stack that up versus the men's side last season, that game I think was 14.5 million viewers.
Yeah.
Between UConn and San Diego State
That's
University.
pretty comparable.
So, I mean,
for not even being able to call it March Madness the year before to almost 10 million viewers.
It's insane. And so where does Caitlin Clark fit into this picture, right? Like, we bring it back a little bit to when I think Caitlin Clark hit the scene. Freshman year, Caitlin Clark comes in, she averages 27 points a game. Like, the girl can shoot.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
That's
of points.
a lot.
Fun story. I actually got smoked. I played 2v2 versus 2 girls in our women's basketball team at Columbia my freshman year and got smoked.
Cooked.
So, cooked.
As you should.
Yeah, I'm not a hooper.
I
I don't want that on the record.
Take that out.
I'm a hooper. but she hits the scene. She's averaging 27 points a game. And like I said earlier, her and Paige Beckers share the College Women's Freshman of the Year awards. So they share those. But at that point, that's right before the pandemic. Not a lot of people know who she is. And I would say you start to hear about her sophomore year in 2022. And the game that I remember, and that this article actually alluded to, this was a Times article about Caitlin Clark, was she was playing Michigan, and at the time, I was ranked like 21st.
Yeah.
So good team, but like not as good as they are right now. And they're down 25, and all of a sudden they just start making this monster comeback. Mm-hmm. And you're looking at the highlights, and it's Caitlin Clark just pulling up from the M logo.
In the center of the court?
Like, Michigan, if you've ever seen their basketball court, just the iconic M. Mm-hmm. And Caitlin Clark is dribbling past half court and just letting that thing fly.
Wow.
From the M. And I remember seeing those clips on Instagram, and I'm like, damn, this girl can shoot a little bit.
She's got it.
She can shoot a little bit. You know, like, damn, like, look at Steph Curry like that.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not thinking much of it at the time. And then she goes and she does it again and again and again and again.
I think it was the consistency that really, like, pushed her to where she is. It's not like she's doing this on a one-off game. You're like, oh my gosh, that was wild. No, it's every single time she goes out there, she delivers the same product, if not better.
Yeah. Like, it was so jaw-dropping, and I was in such awe. Like, so cool to see that. But fast forward to this season, Iowa played on their football field. The Iowa Hawkeyes football field.
In the stadium.
Outside.
Stadium.
To a crowd of like 56,000 fans.
That's a lot of bodies.
Yeah. Like, for context, South Carolina women's basketball team does the most attendance numbers, and they get about 12,000 fans a game, which is great.
Yeah.
And Iowa women's basketball actually does right under that at 11.
But this is 56.
This is 56.
56!
So they start their season off, well, I think it was a preseason game, in front of 56,000 fans, which just shows how eager they were to see Caitlin Clark and Iowa play, coming off of, a championship appearance.
Yeah. And it kept going, too. You see it in their in-season games. She's selling out home and road games. They played Iowa State, Wisconsin, Rutgers, Purdue, Ohio State, you name it. These are road games. They're selling them out. That's hard to do. Also, it's still a women's sport. I remember when I would go and travel to play games, granted, mid-major school, you're just like getting a handful of parents who are like within driving distance.
Yeah.
Selling out stadiums is big time.
No. I mean, they were calling it the Caitlin Clark show the whole season.
Mm-hmm.
And her and her traveling team, essentially just every place they went to was selling out. Everything she touched turned to gold.
Yeah.
And, Caitlin even said after one of the games, she was like, I feel like there's not a lot of opportunities out there where you feel like you're playing in front of 15,000 fans a night. And she's doing that.
In college.
in college. Like, it's insane.
Yeah.
But to look at a little bit more of just like some of the facts around this season for Caitlin Clark, you know, on average, looking at these schools that we said had sold out these games, they were seeing an increase of over 150% compared to their other home games. Like, the fact that they're selling it out is great.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that it's over 150%
Yeah.
increase of the other games that they're playing, like,
Yeah.
that's CC. People wanted to go see CC,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then Vivid Seats actually released some of their data showing that the top 5 most in-demand NCAA women's games this year have all featured Iowa.
That's hard to deny. It's Caitlin Clark.
Come on.
I'm sorry. And maybe this is outing myself. I couldn't name another person on the Iowa.
Well, that's shame on you.
I maybe shouldn't have that on recording.
That's shame on you.
Can you?
No.
There you go.
But
Point made.
but she does have amazing teammates.
She does.
So, and an amazing head coach. Like, that
Yeah.
gets overlooked too as well.
Yeah.
But that's an incredible stat. The average ticket prices for Iowa's women's basketball team since Caitlin Clark joined them in 2020 is up 224%.
These are big numbers.
Like-
It's kind of hard to conceptualize how large these increases are because they're so big so fast.
It's a lot.
It's a
in
lot.
4 years. In 4 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, that's in-person attendance. We can also talk about viewership TV ratings. Iowa versus Ohio State on NBC, averaging 1.9 million viewers. Iowa versus Nebraska on Fox, 1.7. And then, if we want to just talk about women's sports in general, women's basketball, LSU, South Carolina, head-to-head against the NBA's Boston versus Miami game. And they beat them out with 1.6 million viewers. People want to watch women's college basketball. It has never been clearer.
It's me. I'm people.
It's Josh.
It's me.
Adding into the hype, we see a lot more media attention on Caitlin Clark and the college basketball scene. So Omaha Productions, which is owned by Peyton Manning, and they're the people behind the big quarterback documentary that went viral on Netflix. They have tagged Caitlin Clark, South Carolina's Camila Cardoso, and UCLA's Kiki Rice as the subjects of this docuseries, which is coming out very soon, May 11th. When have we ever seen 3 young women be the spotlight of a documentary series like this on such a large brand?
It's really cool. And I know they're doing another one too with LSU. So following, I know, Livy Dunn and I'm sure Angel Reese and a couple other athletes at LSU.
Mm-hmm.
But this is all brand new. And I mean, like, obviously it has to do with NIL.
Yeah.
Like, these opportunities aren't possible without NIL.
Right.
And so that's why you're seeing a lot of them come up now. But it's super cool to have that visibility for the players and for their schools and let them represent that.
Shows there's demand for it.
Exactly.
You don't make
people are
something
gonna watch.
without having that viewer demand.
No. A lot of money to produce things.
A lot of money. Also, a lot of money is what Caitlin Clark is worth to Iowa. She has been making them, as an individual, so much money.
So much cheddar.
Let's get into it. She is worth at least $15 million in added revenue, TV exposure, and marketing to the University of Iowa. $15 million.
And that's going off how much I was worth at Columbia University. At least
Pennies.
$10. At least $10. Maggie, you understand? I spent probably $4.50 on a chai latte every other night at Butler Library.
Mm-hmm.
So you add that up over 4 years minus the pandemic, I'm worth.
Nowhere near 15
I'm
million.
worth marginally nowhere near 15 mil.
Last season, Iowa doubled its women's basketball record for revenue from 1.9 million to 3.8. That's just in one season they're doubling their revenue. And women's basketball, again, like we've been saying, is not typically a high dollar sport. That's not really the sport bringing in the big bucks. It's your men's basketball team, it's your football team. Like, women's sports are kind of just like they're there and they're a great opportunity, but it's not what's making your university the money.
No.
But 3.8, you can start doing things with that.
Yeah, like they're making that in revenue. I mean, to double down on that, like most universities operate in the red.
Yeah.
Like only 20 to 25 universities, college athletics departments, operate at a plus. And the fact that their women's basketball team is generating revenue rather than losing revenue is incredible. And not just money, like $3.8 million.
Yeah.
I could use that.
We all could.
Man.
So that's bringing us up to the current day, tell me a little bit about the ESPN NCAA media deals.
Yeah. To contextualize where we're at now versus where we used to be in women's sports and college sports in general, the prior NCAA deal with ESPN to broadcast at the time it was 29 championships was worth $34 million a year. The new deal that they agreed on this year for 8 years is worth $115 million a year. The number that's crazy, Maggie, the number that's
Hit
crazy
me.
is that 65 million of that 115 are valued for college women's hoops. Like the women's March Madness tournament, $65 million of that, which is what, like 76%.
That's a giant chunk of that.
So
wow.
you're seeing the value, like once you break those rights out, you see how much they're valued as.
Yeah, because they've been
And-
consistently undervalued when you're putting them with the men.
Yeah. I mean,
You see how much.
you talk about like the viewership that we talked about with Iowa versus LSU, 9.9 million. Then you talk about the viewership from this year, Iowa already breaking records, 4.6 million. Like these stack up against really good US programming.
Yeah.
Like these are not small numbers. And so it's incredible to see that. And then you also talk about viewership broadly. Over the first 2 rounds, they're averaging like 290,000 in attendance,
Big numbers.
which is up 60,000 from last year.
I keep saying it, but it's a lot of big changes really rapidly. Like, it almost feels like an overnight shift, but I do think it is a little important to think about. It's not just Caitlin Clark and it's not just the women who are playing right now. There's a lot that's been done in the background that we haven't really been tuned into, that the media hasn't been picking up and covering. And so to just claim it's all Caitlin Clark is a little presumptuous, I would
No,
say.
absolutely.
She's doing her part and she's here at the right time and obviously balling out. But let's talk a little bit about how we got here. Let's just sum this all up.
Yeah, I'll say this, right? Caitlin Clark is capturing the moment that's been presented to her. And to give it more context, like, I don't think a lot of what's going on right now is possible without NIL.
Yeah.
Because what NIL has allowed a lot of these athletes to do is to be branded and to take their brands to a national level.
Personal branding
Yeah.
is massive now in college sports.
Yeah.
And she's building on this identity. She's obviously a great person. She's very thoughtful. Brands want to work with people like that. She has done nothing problematic. Her tweets from 2013 haven't been dug up. There's no like scary photos of her on the internet. So she's a very easily marketable player, you know, which I think is why she's getting so many huge national NIL deals.
Yeah. And then on top of that, like I said, with the national exposure, you look back at some of the other great players that have played in college women's basketball and, you know, had noise around them. Like you think about Sabrina Ionescu, and she was breaking so many records when she was playing at Oregon. And, you know, somebody like me who was following along, like I knew who she was before she got to the WNBA, but not everybody else did.
Yeah.
And you didn't see her in commercials that would be broadcasted on games that were averaging the numbers that these games are averaging
It's
right
a lack
now.
of a platform that now they have.
And like, you know, take it Kelsey Plum, she was a star. I was like Aja Wilson when she was at South Carolina. You go all the way back and think about like USC's player and like Shara Miller and Lisa Leslie. These guys were phenomenal. But right now what's happening is that the moment is so ripe and Caitlin Clark has just taken full advantage of that. And I think that's where the Clarkonomics comes into effect. And in the interest of time, we'll just kind of say again,
What an exciting time for women's basketball.
yeah, like it's incredible.
We're only on the up and up. It's only going to get better than this, and it's already pretty great. We'll leave it right there.
We'll leave it right there.
End on a high note, shall we?
I think we should.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you so much. We'll see you next Tuesday.
All right.
See ya.
Happy National Women's History Month.